Welcome to your deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're tackling a huge question really. What actually led to the end of World War One?
Yeah, the Great War. It didn't just stop overnight.
Exactly. So our mission today is to unpack those key factors for you, kind of make sense of how this enormous conflict finally drew to a close.
Sounds good. It's really a story of multiple pressures building up over time, not just one single thing.
Right. Things like naval power, diplomacy, or maybe missteps in diplomacy.
Definitely some missteps. And also, propaganda, public opinion, and eventually fresh troops making a difference.
Okay, let's dive in then. Where should we start? Maybe the naval blockade. It seems kind of fundamental.
Yeah, that's a good place to start. So, a naval blockade basically is when one country uses its warships to stop ships from getting into or out of another country's
It's
ports.
like building a wall at sea.
Pretty much. And Great Britain, having the most powerful navy at the time, set up a really effective blockade against Germany.
Okay. So what did that actually do to Germany?
Well, it meant vital supplies couldn't get in. We're talking food, obviously, but also crucial raw materials for factories, for weapons production, everything.
Right. You can't fight a war if you can't build things or feed people.
Exactly. And this wasn't a short-term thing. The blockade went on year after year.
So the pressure just kept building and building inside Germany.
It really did. Imagine food shortages getting worse, industries grinding to a halt. It caused immense hardship for the German people and definitely weakened the overall war effort from the inside out.
Okay, so Germany is being squeezed by this blockade. They must have tried to fight back somehow.
They did. They had their own powerful naval tool,
Yeah.
the submarine or U-boat,
Ah, the U-boats.
and they used them to try and, turn the tables on Britain to stop supplies reaching the Allies. This led them to adopt a policy called unrestricted submarine warfare.
Unrestricted. What does that mean exactly?
It means their U-boats would attack any ship found in the waters around Britain and other enemy nations. Any ship.
Including civilian ships? Passenger liners?
Yes. Without warning. Before this, there were sort of established rules. You were supposed to warn merchant ships, allow crews to escape.
But unrestricted meant just torpedoes away.
Pretty much. It was a radical and, frankly, very dangerous tactic. Germany saw it as necessary to break the British blockade, but it was incredibly controversial.
I can imagine attacking ships with civilians on board. That's bound to cause outrage.
Huge outrage. And it had major international consequences, as we'll see.
Okay, so we've got this physical battle at sea, the blockade and the U-boats, but there was another kind of battle going on too, wasn't there, for like people's hearts and minds?
Absolutely. Propaganda. That was a massive part of World War I.
Define that for us quickly. What is propaganda really?
It's basically information, or sometimes misinformation, that's designed specifically to influence how people think and what they do. It's usually biased, pushing one particular point of view.
And both sides were doing this.
Oh, extensively. Posters, pamphlets, news articles, films even back then. All designed to achieve certain goals.
Like what? What were they trying to do?
Well, first, build support for the war at home. Convince your own people that the fight is just and necessary. Keep morale up.
Makes sense.
Second, demonize the enemy. Make them seem evil, barbaric. This fuels hatred and makes it easier for people to accept the sacrifices of war and for soldiers to fight.
Make the enemy seem less than human, maybe.
Sometimes, yes. And third, practical things like encouraging young men to enlist in the army or persuading people to buy war bonds to help pay for everything.
So it was a tool for mobilization, really, getting the whole country behind the war effort.
Exactly. Very powerful, very pervasive.
Okay. Now, thinking about the impact of German actions, especially that unrestricted submarine warfare, there's one incident that always comes up, the Lusitania.
Ah, yes, the Lusitania. A huge event.
What happened? It was a passenger ship, wasn't it?
It was. A large British passenger liner. In May 1915, it was sailing from New York to Liverpool, and it was torpedoed and sunk by a German U-boat off the coast of Ireland.
Oh, wow. Just like that. A civilian ship.
Just like that. It sank very quickly. Over 1,000 people died.
Terrible. Were there Americans on board? I feel like I remember that being important.
Yes, that's key. Over 120 Americans were among the dead.
Right. And America wasn't even in the war yet.
No, the U.S. was officially neutral at this point. So the sinking caused absolute shock and outrage in the United States.
I bet. How did it change things?
It massively swayed American public opinion against Germany. It wasn't the single reason the U.S. later entered the war, but it was a huge factor. It made Germany's submarine policy look brutal and inhumane to many Americans.
It put a human face on the consequences of that unrestricted warfare.
Precisely. It became a powerful rallying cry and symbol.
Okay, so the Lusitania happens in 1915. Fast forward a bit to 1917, another really significant moment involving Germany and the U.S. The Zimmermann Note. What was that about?
Right, the Zimmermann Note, or Zimmermann Telegram. This was a secret, coded message sent by the German Foreign Secretary, Arthur Zimmermann.
Secret message? To who?
To the German ambassador in Mexico.
Mexico. Why Mexico?
Well, Germany anticipated that their continued unrestricted submarine warfare might finally pull the United States into the war.
Okay.
So the note proposed that if the U.S. did declare war on Germany, Germany would seek an alliance with Mexico.
An alliance? What would Mexico get out of it?
Ah, that was the bombshell part. Germany promised to help Mexico recover territories it had lost to the United States in the 19th century.
Wait, like Texas, Arizona?
Exactly. Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. Germany promised financial support and help reclaiming that land after Germany won the war.
That is audacious. Offering parts of the U.S. to Mexico.
It was incredibly audacious. But Zimmermann thought it might distract the U.S., keep American forces busy on their own border.
Did it work? Did Mexico agree?
Well, here's the twist. British intelligence intercepted and decoded the telegram. They waited a bit, then strategically shared it with the American government.
And the Americans made it public.
They did. And the reaction in the U.S. was explosive. Absolute fury. Any remaining doubts many Americans had about Germany's intentions just evaporated. Mexico, by the way, realistically couldn't have done it and never agreed.
But the damage was done. This must have pushed the U.S. right to the brink of war.
It really did. Combined with the resumption of unrestricted submarine warfare around the same time, the Zimmermann Note was pretty much the final straw. War was declared just a few weeks later, in April 1917.
Okay, so the U.S. is in. They declare war. What happens next?
They send troops over, right? The American Expeditionary Force.
That's the one, the AEF. That was the official name for the U.S. Army sent to fight in Europe under General John J. Pershing.
Now, the U.S. joined quite late. The war had been raging since 1914. Were the American troops ready for that kind of fighting? Well, honestly, not initially. The U.S. Army was relatively small and inexperienced compared to the huge, battle-hardened armies of Britain, France, and Germany. There was a lot of catching up to do in terms of training and equipment for this kind of trench warfare.
But the U.S. had other advantages.
Huge advantages. Yeah. Manpower, millions of potential soldiers, and incredible industrial power. The U.S. could produce ships, weapons, supplies on a massive scale.
So maybe not experienced right away, but bringing fresh energy and resources.
Exactly. The first AEF troops started arriving in significant numbers in late 1917 and especially into 1918.
Yeah.
And their arrival was a massive psychological and material boost for the Allies.
How so? Everyone else must have been exhausted by then.
Utterly exhausted.
Yeah.
Years of trench warfare, millions dead, morale was low on both sides. Then suddenly, here come the Americans, fresh, eager, and seemingly endless resources behind them.
That must have changed the whole dynamic on the Western Front.
It really did. The AEF played a crucial role in stopping the final major German offensives in the spring of 1918, and then participated significantly in the Allied counteroffensives that pushed the Germans back throughout the summer and autumn. Their presence tipped the balance.
A real game changer then.
Absolutely.
So with the blockade biting hard, Germany facing unrest at home, and now these fresh American troops tipping the military balance, things must have been looking pretty bleak for Germany by late 1918.
Extremely bleak. The German military leadership, particularly Ludendorff and Hindenburg, realized the war was lost. The army was depleted, morale was collapsing, and the Allied offensives were breaking through.
And the situation back in Germany.
Also deteriorating rapidly. The blockade's effects were severe. There were food shortages, strikes, political turmoil, even mutinies in the Navy. The country was close to collapse.
So what did they do? They had to stop the fighting somehow.
They decided they had to seek an end to the fighting. They approached the Allies about an armistice.
An armistice. That's not a surrender exactly, is it? What is it?
Correct. An armistice is essentially an agreement to stop fighting, a ceasefire. It doesn't formally end the war that requires a peace treaty, but it halts the hostilities while terms can be negotiated.
Okay. So Germany asks for a ceasefire. Did the Allies just agree?
Not quite. The Allies, led by figures like French Marshal Foch, presented Germany with fairly harsh terms for the armistice. They wanted to ensure Germany couldn't restart the war.
What kind of terms?
Things like withdrawing German troops from occupied territories, surrendering large amounts of military equipment, warships, guns, aircraft, and continuing the naval blockade until a final peace treaty was signed.
Tough terms. But Germany didn't have much choice, did they?
No, they were in no position to argue. Their government, which had also undergone significant political changes with the Kaiser abdicating, accepted the terms.
And when did this armistice actually happen? When did the guns fall silent?
The agreement was signed in a railway carriage in the Forest of Compiègne in France. It went into effect at 11:00 a.m. on November 11th, 1918.
The 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month.
That's the famous moment. The fighting on the Western Front finally stopped.
Wow. So that was the end of the fighting, but not quite the end of the story, because the peace treaty came later.
Right. The Treaty of Versailles in 1919 would formally end the war and set out the long-term consequences, which is a whole other deep dive.
Indeed it is. Okay, let's just quickly tie this all together then. It really feels like a chain reaction.
It does. You start with the British naval blockade putting that economic squeeze on Germany.
Which leads Germany to gamble on unrestricted submarine warfare to fight back.
Right. But that policy angers neutral countries, especially the U.S., particularly after high-profile incidents like the sinking of the Lusitania.
And then the Zimmerman note just confirms American fears about Germany's intentions.
Pushing the U.S. into the war. Then the arrival of the American Expeditionary Force provides that crucial manpower and morale boost for the Allies.
Just as Germany is weakening internally from the blockade and war weariness.
Exactly. The combination of military pressure on the front lines and collapse at home forces Germany to seek the armistice.
It shows how interconnected everything was: the economy, diplomacy, public opinion, military force.
Absolutely. No single factor ended the war, but together they created an unsustainable situation for Germany.
Okay, this has been really helpful in understanding how it all came together. To help everyone listening really process this, maybe think about a few questions.
Good idea.
Like, first, what was the main goal of that British naval blockade, and how did Germany try to counter it?
Yeah, thinking about that cause and effect is key.
Second, why were things like the sinking of the Lusitania and the Zimmerman note so important? How did they specifically push the U.S. towards joining the war? Try to explain that in your own words.
Focus on the impact in American opinion.
Third, how did the arrival of the American Expeditionary Force, the AEF, actually change things on the battlefield in 1918? What difference did they make?
Consider both the material and the morale aspects.
And finally, what conditions, both military and back home in Germany, led them to agree to the armistice in November 1918? What pressures were they under?
Thinking through those should really solidify the key takeaways.
Definitely. Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the end of World War I. We hope breaking down these factors, the blockade, the U-boats, propaganda, the Kiekens, the AEF, the armistice, has made it clearer how this global conflict concluded.
It's fascinating to see how all these different pressures, economic, political, social, military, converged at that moment in history.
Absolutely. It makes you think, what other turning points in history were caused by such a complex mix of factors? What other questions does this raise for you about World War I? Or maybe what came next? Let us know. We're ready for the next stack of sources whenever you are.